the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Monday morning. We're glad that you joined us whenever and wherever it is that you join us each and every week for Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Glad to see both of you this morning. Jason, welcome in. Faith, good morning. Jason, as always, on Mondays, we let you get started by telling everybody how they can keep up with you guys at 24/7 and Auburn Undercover.
Yeah, obviously, a whole lot going on as we kind of wrap things up and finish off a year and get ready to turn the page. But, you know, there's still a lot going on. There's football camps going on and baseball portal, all kind of stuff. So you can check us out, auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. And find me on Twitter at ITATJason.
It really is 24/7. No pun intended. Like, you guys are like up 24/7 with all the stuff going on. Faith and I were talking about that, and last night with all of the recruits and things on football and transfer portal with baseball, and then the super regional, and man, it'll just make your head spin off your shoulders.
Yeah, I had folks at church yesterday morning going, I guess you get to take a deep breath now. And I went, no, as soon as we get done here, I'm going over because they have official visits and there's football camp going on. And then there's portal guys. And so I was talking to, I don't know how many, I talked to 2 portal guys last night, supposed to talk to a couple more today. And also I was talking to a couple of, one 2027 football prospect and another 2028 football prospect last night at some point too. So yeah, it's a never ending process. And that's why you hear coaches, administrators, everybody talk about how there have to be some kind of guidelines. Hopefully we're starting to move in the right direction with that House settlement that came through. But it's a grind for sure. There's no question about it.
We're going to talk about the House settlement here a little bit later on. Definitely get your thoughts on that. I know, Faith, you and I are going to dive into that a little bit more in detail later on in the program. But, Jason, definitely want to get your thoughts on that. We'll go to some of our partners here in just a minute, but I do want to go ahead and get started. It was a tough ending for Auburn this weekend. It was a milestone getting to host a super regional for the first time in school history. You know, Butch Thompson's done that a lot since he's been here. He set the bar very high for Auburn baseball and gotten Auburn baseball to a point where Auburn fans and people expect them to be in postseason play and not just making it to postseason play, but to make some noise. And then you get a chance to host a super regional. It was just you run up on a buzzsaw. There's no other way to put it. This is not, Coastal Carolina's got a history. They won a national championship before. I know it was back in 2016, but still a very, very veteran program, and the pitching staff is maybe one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. And they've won how many now? 23 in a row. 23 in a row for that says something. I don't care what league you play in and who you play, they find ways to get it done. Jason, I'll start there. Just the first game on Friday night had a little bit of everything. You had a rain delay, you had home runs, you had all kind of stuff, and a crazy ending to the game.
Yeah, no, I thought you lose 2 games, but you lose 2 games where you had opportunities in both. And I told as I wrote this morning, I don't think Auburn lost games. I think Coastal won them, but I don't think there was a whole lot of difference. I thought they were 2 pretty evenly matched teams. They made a couple more plays, and you look, Coastal runs out, has a lead early. Auburn with a big comeback, and you get first or second, nobody out, and you have 4 and 5 up in your order, and just don't get it done. And I don't think I've ever seen. I know I haven't. Never seen a game where you hit into 2 line drive double plays that look exactly the same in the 9th and 10th innings with a chance to either take the lead or tie the game. And that just kind of summed it up. Auburn hit 2 balls really well. Second baseman made good plays, diving stops there to finish off that game on Friday night. And then you turn around, and I thought, like I said, I wrote this morning, not saying that it impacted Auburn more because Coastal Carolina had to do the same thing, but I thought both lineups were very sluggish Saturday after playing after 1 o'clock in the morning the night before, and then turn around and playing a baseball game at 2 o'clock the next afternoon. I thought both offenses looked very sluggish Saturday, and it's ridiculous that you couldn't find another window for Auburn and Coastal Carolina to play a little bit later in the day to try to give them a little bit more rest because they've done it in other spots. And they said they couldn't find another TV window for them, so had to play at 2 o'clock. So I know how late it was because by the time I left the media room Saturday morning, it was after 2 a.m. So for me, it was 12 hours to first pitch the next day. Well, players have to go home. You usually get something to eat after that. You take a shower, settle down, do all that stuff. You're talking about less than 12-hour turnaround to play another game. That's first pitch. You're back at the ballpark much earlier than that. And so to me, you're talking about playing in the NCAA tournament in the biggest games of the season. That's not right. But Coastal Carolina made plays again on Saturday when they had to. It's crazy. Other than Sam Dutton, I thought Auburn's pitching was really good. He struggled some, and they made him pay with some pitches up over the plate and did a few home runs that first day. Other than that, Auburn's pitching was really good. Coastal's was fantastic, and but Auburn battled. They got guys on base and just couldn't get them over. But it was a really good year. You're right, tough ending, and I think you look at it and you go, man, you play the what if game a little bit. What if Eric Guevara's healthy? What if Kay Ballou's healthy? What if Derek Fabian's healthy? It has a big impact for this team. They weren't, and you have to play the cards that are dealt. And so they, I thought, just didn't have quite enough offense to get over the finish line there at the end of the season.
Yeah, Jason, I know that, when you look at it from a standpoint, Faith, I know you and I talked about Butch Thompson. Your thoughts on Butch, Faith, and, again, maybe you've got something you want to ask Jason there about Coach Thompson. But, I just think he's done a great job and, putting Auburn to a level, like I said to start, that we haven't seen probably since Hal Baird.
Yeah, I think we've watched throughout, even just from last season to this season, the progress that he's made. But Jason, where do you think that he's taken this program since his time at Auburn?
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I started this job in 1999. So my first baseball season was 1999.
Super regional.
Auburn made a super regional, had made the College World Series in 1997, 1994. And, you look at it and say, I'm going to cover a program that's going to be there a lot. Auburn did not make another super regional from 1999 to 2018. That was Butch's third year on the job, I think. Since then, they've now been to super regional in 18. They won one in 19, made the College World Series, 22, and then this season again. So they went from 99 to 2018, so it went 20 years without making a super regional, and now they've been to 4. And so, he's taken the program and grown it. That's the thing. Consistency-wise, Hal Baird was great. They're very similar in every aspect. The men they are, the way they want to win, the things they do, very similar in every aspect. It's much more difficult now than it was in 1999 because of the league you play in, because of the arms race, everything that's going on. It's a more difficult league in terms of competition. So, I think it's, the consistency, you're going to have down years. That's just the way it goes. You look up and Auburn, I think, has been I think there's 9 teams that have been to a super regional 4 times in the last 8 years. That's not a whole lot when you think about all these teams that you would consider baseball powerhouses, those kind of things. But you just have to keep giving yourself opportunities. They gave themselves an opportunity this year, and I think they'll continue to do that. And that's what you're looking to do is continue to do that. But growth, you had almost 8,000 people in Plainsville Park for these regional games. That's what you're talking about, of creating an atmosphere that will grow Auburn baseball. And I think we've seen that the last couple of years.
I was going to ask about the environment of Plainsman Park after the renovations and the way that they decided they were going to have more chairs on top. Tud and I were talking about that being a huge liability for people sitting all the way up there after maybe having a few drinks. But what did you see this weekend after the whole renovation being complete and them having to add more seats?
Yeah, they put railing up, and so it was just a standing rail basically. So those people weren't sitting, they were standing, and they had railings up. And so when we were out there Friday, they had all their safety folks, they had fire department, they had everybody up there making sure that this thing was going to be safe before they did it. And so they checked it out. But they had fans set up top, they had flooring, railings, all kind of stuff. So it was done in a way that I won't be surprised if there's something
I was going to say
that will be permanent for that very purpose here moving down the road. But because I think people enjoyed it, and especially I think it got a little hot maybe on Saturday. Folks were heading a little bit more to the shade, but
maybe some umbrellas up there or something.
Yeah, so I think it's something that you continue to build on. They've done a great job of finding ways to do it. And here's the thing, you want to talk about it. I know folks, you don't like added revenue because that means you're having to pay for things that you didn't pay for before. But if you're talking about building and growing programs like baseball, then revenue is important, because now revenue is a part of this. Whether people like it or not, it is a part of this. And the growth, the revenue building from the Broadway Club and the 984 Club, those are things that will help you continue to acquire talent in this day and age, and that's an important part of things. And so, I think you look for every opportunity now to create more revenue for programs, and I think that's one of the things they've done a much better job of at Auburn baseball, because it wasn't done at all before. The only revenue that came from Auburn baseball before was people buying tickets, and that was just tickets sitting in seats. Now you have VIP opportunities and those things, and I think that's huge.
Well, people look for opportunities to have a more enhanced experience. Let's be honest. When you go to sporting events now, the way technology and TV is, it's just so easy to sit at home. And a lot of fans don't want to get out and battle. And I'm just being honest about it. So you enhance opportunities when you go to the venues. We see it happening in football. You see stadiums being downsized, maybe taking seats out, making more club level type opportunities. And, we're going to see that at Jordan-Hare continue on. You don't see anybody trying to build 110,000 seat stadiums anymore. And it's because of that. But again, I think that's a testament to the program. Butch Thompson, Auburn was loyal to Butch Thompson, and Butch Thompson was loyal to Auburn. And, he asked for things to be done at Plainsman Park. He envisioned an atmosphere like at Duty Noble Field in Mississippi State, and Auburn's got that now. I mean, and it's continuing to grow and get into an even better environment. So, Jason, I know we want to shift over and talk about some of the recruits and some of the transfer portal guys that Auburn, immediately as soon as Auburn season was over, all this came through with these guys coming in from the transfer portal. But first, before we get to that, I want to talk about a couple of our partners here on the program, and we'll start with Sensagreen.
Sensagreen, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensagreen. They are the carrier experts in the state of Alabama, proud supporter of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of the Auburn Blitz podcast. With how hot it is, your AC unit is going to be running, and you need something reliable like a carrier unit. And Sensagreen will save you thousands of dollars on the installation of a carrier unit.
Absolutely. And Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in educational products, new school builds, renovations, indoor facilities, whatever. They've got a project going on in Lee County with the new indoor facility over there at Smith Station. Just a going to be a beautiful facility. They got a brand new school building going up here in Alexander City, the new Benjamin Russell High School. They're part of the new Moody High School renovation. They just got stuff going on all over the state. So if you're looking at a brand new build or renovation project, Scout Program Management is the place to be, and they'll take you from the pre-construction phase all the way to the finished product.
Bunkers in Auburn. They've got 20 parking spaces in downtown Auburn, which is insane to find. And it's right in the parking garage, right behind Bunkers. They've got 27 different sports, so you don't even have to just play golf. You can play the 27 other sports. They've got great food, great drinks. They have happy hour deals all week. And it's just a great environment all the time. And we love going over there and hanging out. Long overdue for a Bunkers visit, Brett.
Yeah, got to get there this week. I'm tired of going without, for sure. Jason, man, again, like you said, no rest for the weary, right? Turn around, and I'll start with the kid from UAB transferring in, UAB third baseman Todd Clay. Just your thoughts on him. We'll just go down the list. There's 5 guys here, not the burger joint, but 5 guys coming in to Auburn through the transfer portal in baseball. And again, when you look at the numbers that these guys are putting up, either position player guys or pitching numbers are really, really stellar.
Yeah, Todd Clay's a kid from Auburn High School, and so he's coming back home. Yep. And then you look at him. I think the ability to play corner infield, so third base, first base. I think that's a big deal because obviously you're losing Cooper McMurray, and right now you look like you'll have Eric Guevara back, you'll have Eric Snow back, you got Chris Rimmer back, and so I think you look and go, a guy that can help out on either corner infield spot would be a big deal. And so Todd's a guy that hit over 350 at 7 home runs last year at UAB. And so I think it's another guy that adds to your depth, and you figure out then, hey, you're good enough to come in and earn a starting spot. But I think a guy that plays for this team. So this was the plan kind of all along for Auburn. Obviously, when you're in a super regional, it changes the timeline of it, but their sole focus was to protect the current guys on the team first. And so you have to recruit while it's going on, but they feel really good. Before we talk about these, they feel really good about the returning guys on this team. When you think about the freshmen that just played, Snow and Guevara and some of these older guys, Cade Ballou, and then the young pitchers, the Cade Fishers.
It was the freshmen getting the headlines every day almost.
So I think they feel really good about it, and now you're adding some specific pieces that they want to add. And they went short on the high school class this year because they knew they just signed a really good freshman class, and those guys are going to be playing. And so you want to mix now. You lose older guys, you're going to have really young guys, and you want to bring in some older guys to kind of give you that balance. And that was kind of the plan all along.
I mean, here we go again, the balance of from one year to the next. Your high school group may look different than the next year. Your transfer portal group may be heavier one year versus the other. I mean, every year is different. I don't think anybody needs to panic, when they're looking at a recruiting class in football or baseball or basketball anymore, because now you got all these options. I hate to jump to football, but real quick on football, like you got 3 brand new guys in the quarterback room this year. Faith and I have talked about this. I mean, do you want to sign a quarterback in this class this year? Well, yeah. I mean, you feel like you'd like to sign one every year, but if you don't, it's not the sky's not falling anymore. I mean, it's just not that way.
Well, and the part of the issue there, and because we can talk about it from both sides because it's an overall theme, but part of it is now when you look at it with the House settlement, and I know we were talking about that, it impacts every sport. But from a football perspective, you now have a budget, you now have a salary cap basically that's going to go into play, and some school may not have a quarterback, and their salary cap for their quarterback position in 2026 is going to be much different than yours is. So it's just like the NFL draft. You go into it, and the Buffalo Bills aren't going to spend the same amount of on a quarterback that the Cleveland Browns are.
No.
Not going to happen. Same scenario. You look and you go, well, you got two, they got none. They're going to spend more money on a quarterback. So it limits your pool a little bit as to the guys you're going to get. You may have more for an offensive lineman or two, defensive lineman than other schools. And so that's part of the world that it's part of what we deal with now. Yeah. And so getting back to baseball now, you look at it from a baseball perspective. Yes. There's certain areas you want to focus on. So you lose Sam Dutton, you lose Parker Carlson, John Armstrong being sure, you lose some veteran arms, and potentially guys like Cam Tilley and Hayden Murphy as well, who are draft eligible guys. So you're going to look, you need some older, experienced arms on the mound because you got Andres Alvarez and Christian Chatterton and those young guys coming back. And the same thing, you lose Cooper McMurray and Ike Irish. And so you're going to eventually try to find a couple of power bats, guys that can be first base, maybe another outfield spot too. So I think that's what you're looking at.
We got two left-handed pitchers that have committed to Auburn, and one being from Michigan State, Garrett Brewer. Kind of tell me what you think he's going to be able to add to this team.
Yeah, a pretty good power lefty arm. I think he's like 93, 94, and so he's been good. He's been a guy that's been good. Middle relief guy, and you look at, scenario this year, I think Carson Myers, Cade Fisher, those two guys Carson was all year long one of the most important guys for them. I think they've kind of found a little niche with having the left-handed guy that can come in and be a 3 or 4 inning reliever. And so he'll have that opportunity. He'll have an opportunity to start, though. I mean, they don't have a left-handed starter, returning, and he could easily slide into that role too. So he'll have that opportunity. And, there's, a couple of those guys are going to have that opportunity now when you look at it, for them because of who you're bringing in, the opportunities there. But you look at Garrett Brewer, 4.46 ERA. Yep. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me. And then you got a freshman, or he was a freshman this year from Virginia Tech, Jake Marciano, another lefty. And then you bring in a right-handed pitcher from Western Kentucky, I believe, right?
Drew Whalen.
Drew Whalen. Yep, Drew Whalen. So you got, Auburn going after pitchers right there. Just kind of, the same thing there. And then you had a position guy from Texas State, a shortstop.
Yeah. Ryan Farber, a guy that started as a center fielder as a freshman, moved and played shortstop this past year. So you look at another guy that gives you some versatility. And so I think that's, the things you look for now. Can you go find another big bat? I think that would be, one of the things now. Can you find another power guy to go along with what I think is a lineup that's going to have some? I think Chris Remmert hit 10 this year. Right. I think Bob Terrell's a guy that'll hit double-digit home runs. I think Eric Gavar's a guy that hit double-digit home runs, and I think Chase Fralick's a guy that hit double-digit home runs. And Kay Ballou healthy is the same potential. So I think you've got some power pieces in place for this lineup to add a couple of spots to.
Just closing out on baseball, Jason. Looking at next year, Coach Thompson, what he said. What in your mind is the basement for Auburn now every year? I have my personal opinion on that, and I think Coach Thompson feels this way. I think Auburn, the expectation now is to not only make a regional, but to host a regional every year, and then be in a position national seed wise where they can host a super regional. I just think that's with the money being spent, the renovations, the way Butch Thompson's coached and recruited. I think that's where Auburn baseball is now. And let's be honest, we've had to overcome hurdles that other programs, and Alabama too. I'm going to group us and Alabama in the same category, and you can group Troy and Jacksonville State in that category, and South Alabama too. Teams in the state of Alabama have been at a disadvantage when they go head-to-head with these other programs. Now, the NCAA adding the scholarships and doing some things have helped that. The transfer portals helped that. NILs definitely helped teams like Auburn and Alabama. But prior to that, I know it sounded like a bunch of excuses, but it was reality. When you go to Mississippi and you go to Georgia and you go to Florida and Louisiana and Tennessee, and they've got all these lottery options and they've got these scholarship programs, and you get a kid, I know personally, a kid here from Alexander City that when Butch Thompson was at Auburn, was recruiting him, Kendall Graveman. Jason, you know him. He was coming to Auburn. And then when Butch Thompson went to Mississippi State, he took him with him. And Auburn couldn't match. I talked to his daddy numerous times. Auburn just couldn't match financially what Mississippi State was going to be able to give him. So Auburn lost Kendall Graveman, and we all know what he went on to do and how good he was and still played in the major leagues. That gap has been closed now, I guess is what I'm saying. So now Auburn is more toward the expectation of, hey, we can do this every single year now.
Yeah, I think your expectations are to compete and have a chance every year. I think you're there now. And you mentioned the difficulties of going through it. Alabama went to the College World Series in 1983. Then they went 96, 97, 99. That made sense. So you start talking about what Auburn's been able to accomplish. Alabama went a few more times than Auburn did in that stretch in the 90s, and they haven't been back since then. And so you start talking about it. Yes, I think
that's a long time. Dude.
It is, and so I think from an Auburn perspective, you're looking, going like, okay, put yourself in a position to go compete for it every year. And I think they've done that. Had a couple of down years, and you're going to have those. Those are that's the unfortunate part of things. It's very difficult for nobody to have those kind of years. But I think now you add more depth, and you can avoid injuries and things that derail seasons like that. And I think that's the goal.
Jason, let's switch over to football and the OVs from this weekend. You told us before we hopped on that you had to head over there. What did you hear, and what was just the thing that kind of stood out for you?
Yeah, I think you look and there's some talented guys, obviously, that were once again in this weekend. Manny Iheanacho's one of the biggest human beings ever. Feels like that one's going to be tough to knock Oregon off. They've been kind of there for him from the beginning, but I'll say that Claude Puma is an offensive lineman from Mount Carmel in Chicago, Illinois, and has really strong connections to this staff, but not just the offensive staff. Montreal King Williams is from that area, and so he's got some connections. He's a big offensive tackle, a guy that I think is going to be a really good player at 6'7", over 300 pounds. I think Auburn's in a really good position for him. J.C. Anderson, a tight end from Illinois, I think Auburn's in a good spot as well. And then, an interesting guy is Nolan Wilson, a defensive lineman from Picayune, Mississippi.
That's who I was going to ask you about, Nolan Wilson.
Yeah, I think you look, and I think there's some maybe tracks for Auburn that are being laid for a guy like that right now. And so I think that's one to watch. So good weekend. And it's only going to get busier this week because there's more of these coming in.
Sedarian will be in Auburn this weekend. I believe. Won't he be in Auburn this weekend? Or is it
I think he's this weekend. But during the week they have visits too. So we have you're gonna make you feel old, but OCU Manora's son is visiting this week. A DB from Atlanta, but Tristan Keys is a five-star wide receiver that's supposed to be in town. Caden Prothro is maybe the best tight end prospect in the country. Will be in this week. Jordan Campbell is a linebacker that's committed to Miami, but has visited Auburn a couple of times. So there'll be 6 or 7 during the week this week, and then you load up next weekend with another 12 or 13 guys. So there'll be probably 20 more official visits during the week this week. A couple of 7-on-7 camps in the process too. So just as my preacher says, just a normal Sunday. This is a normal week here during June.
Yeah, it is. One other guy I wanted to ask you about, Jason, that Faith went and sat down with a few weeks ago is Marquez Daniel. I mean, he told us weeks ago that it was 50-50 Florida and Auburn. I
Yeah.
don't think anything's changed there. And but do you think when the dust settles, it's Auburn for him?
Yeah, you would think so. Joe Phillips being here, I think, is a big deal. It's close to home, but you never know what happens if Florida doesn't get maybe one of their wide receiver guys and Auburn does, and you start again. We talk about it, who's going to be able to put a few more resources, because Auburn's wide receiver room is pretty stacked right now. So maybe Florida has a few more resources to put towards a guy like Marquez Daniel. Obviously, Cedarian Morgan visited there this past weekend, and so they're trying to make a push for guys like that too. But I do think from a fit home spot that Auburn will be the place, but you never know if that's how it works out, nowadays.
Well, Jason, before we let you go, buddy, we appreciate you as always. Just your thoughts on the settlement. And I know Faith and I are going to talk some more about that here in just a minute, but just kind of give your brief thoughts on that and what it looks like for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that something's getting done now. Just kind of see what it is and how it impacts things moving forward. And the biggest thing is you just got to get to July 1st where you start to have some uniformity, because I'm still talking to people and there's still schools out there that are telling guys, we're going to give you $500,000. And they're like, well, you better make sure that that's in written form in a contract, because once you get to this, they're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to give somebody a $500,000 when you have a salary cap and you have a budget. So start to get to where there's some uniformity for how this thing's going on. And I think maybe get to where it feels a little bit more manageable, where, freshmen coming in, you get this much, you'll have a chance to get to that much if you perform and do the things you're supposed to do. But hey, the guys have fought for more money, and hey, get whatever's yours. But along with that comes responsibilities. And I hear, former coaches, Rick Neuheisel, some of those guys, well, we didn't get rid of players, well, it wasn't the same world that it is now. And I hate it.
Yeah.
But it is part of life now. The life is that it's now a business, and it's always been a business. It's now legitimately a business. And if your college coaches or administrators and guys aren't performing or doing their things, then they're not going to get that part of that business. And so that's the unfortunate part of it, guys. Just trudging along and going towards a degree. It's gonna be tough to do that now, but that's the life that you wanted, and you got it.
Well, also, for years you heard people say, well, you don't boo college kids. That's terrible. And they're out there. Well, look, hey, now that people have investments, people that are expecting ROI and doing their personal money, and people going to boo now, because if you don't go, you get all this stuff and you take all these pictures and you the guy, and then you get out there and flop out, people going to boo you off the field, because again, like you said, that's where we are now. And
and it used to be, well, it was age, and age doesn't matter. That guy's driving a Tesla Cybertruck.
Well,
it's an unfortunate part of it. It is, and I agree. I hate it. I don't like to hear boos in stadiums, but I know they're coming.
It's going to come.
Exactly what you said. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it definitely is. Jason, appreciate you, man. I know you got a busy week. Like you said, just another average week in the month of June for you guys and us. We're all over the place too. And just kind of tell everybody, again, as you exit, where they can find you guys every day.
Yep, check us out, auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. And find me on Twitter at ITATJason, all those social media platforms. You can find auburnundercover.com as well.
Jason, appreciate you, brother.
Jason.
Thanks. See y'all.
Have a good week. We'll see you somewhere down the road. Run into you. Faith, we got some comments that we'll snag here in just a minute, but do want to get back to some of our partners here in Sure Shot in Alex City.
Yeah, Sure Shot right up 280. They've got all your firearm apparel and hunting needs. It's always hunting season, as Brett likes to say. They sell and trade new and used firearms. They've always got some sort of special or deal going on that Brett always tells us all about. But Scott, he knows what's up all the time and can explain everything way better than anybody else can. So if you have any questions, or if you want to go up there and look at any of the apparel items or firearms, he's going to be able to help you and tell them that the Auburn Blitz sent you. Call on them at 256-329-0080. And Oliver Ross, they are certified and licensed bartenders. If you've got a party of 20 people or a convention or wedding up to 20,000 people, they're going to be able to take care of you and take on the bartending services while you take on the entertainment. So Oliver Ross always is going to make sure that, you don't have to worry about those things. They've got it all taken care of. They're licensed. They're awesome. So make sure you tell Oliver Ross that the Auburn Blitz sent you.
Yeah, and they show up and they're professional. I mean, when you're hosting something, you don't want some ragtag bunch of people walking in going, "Yeah, I'll fix you a drink." I mean, they're all dressed nice and all. So, yeah, just great people all the way around. All of our partners are. So glad to be associated with them. Okay, some comments coming in. Tubbs Tiger said the town had a weird feeling all weekend. Friday was an okay environment, but a very dead energy all over town. But again, school's out for the summer. That's a pretty good song too, wasn't it? It was a different environment, but I thought from hearing from other people, I didn't get a chance to go to the game on Friday or Saturday, and I know you didn't either. But that was, I heard a lot of positive things, but it was, from the game, you had the rain delay, and then you had to come back, and it ended so late, and then Saturday was hot as blue blazes. Everybody was right back there, and I thought Jason nailed it. I thought both teams looked sluggish coming out of the gate, especially at the plate. When it was 1-0 going into the seventh inning, you thought, something's going to give, something's going to bust here. And of course, we had played with fire for a couple of innings and gotten out of it. And finally, Coastal Carolina was able to put up a 3-spot there and take that lead. But, again, had some other activities going on, I think, downtown. So I'm not sure it was completely dead, but maybe the total feel of the amount of people walking around outside and all maybe was down because school is out. Pretty much summer's a lot more of a laid back time, and the town's a lot different in the summer than it is in the, in the fall and the spring. So the new Supper Club area is top notch. That really awesome place. If you haven't been to that, great views of Auburn downtown, just an awesome place to go hang out. Check that out if you haven't done that. But Faith, to kind of close out here, the NCAA is making strides. We said this till we were blue in the face. Contracts are how you fix this thing. And the sooner you can get to collective bargaining, and the sooner we can act like this thing is the way we all grew up and loved. It isn't that way anymore. So if you're going to hold people accountable, both sides, like I told you, if I'm a player and I've got a coach out there telling me all this stuff, well, put it on paper. Because I don't want to get to school and then you go, oh, well, we had something that happened and changed. We don't have as much money as we thought, and we're going to have to do this. We've already heard recruits saying that coaches have lied to them. So, all right, but they wanted this environment. So the schools wanted it from a standpoint of being able to not have players leave every 7 months with all the transfer portal stuff. They want to be able to lock guys down. Well, players should want the comfort of saying, okay, you promised me this. I'm going to sign on the dotted line, and I'm going to make the commitment to you. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, I think the contracts are going to be what actually keeps people committed, and also you have that sense of security, like you said. But now with this $20.5 million cap of the new settlement,
what the schools can play out directly. Yep.
Right. Well, you've got schools like Alabama, like Auburn, that, you're a football and a basketball school, not just like St. John's, who doesn't have a football team. They pour everything into their basketball. Who is going to be able to fully decide and know that they're just using $20.5 million and they're not doing anything under the table or sliding anything like that?
not going to be able to police it. It's going back. We said this Saturday. We're going right back to where we were with, when you put rules and regulations on. That's why we said that nobody can figure out how to really wrangle this in, and why you see somebody like Nick Saban that you thought was going to be the person that was named the commissioner or whatever, kind of make a 180 and say, well, I'm not really interested in that anymore. And it's because I don't think he could sit down and grasp how to really regulate and control this stuff. I mean, yeah, Justin said the sports commission is supposed to police it, but I go back to that conversation, what I'm talking about right now, that I had Saturday. They get this former Major League Baseball administrator to kind of be the first one to oversee this commission. I think they went that route because they couldn't find somebody, or they didn't have anybody that they wanted that stepped up to take this on. I still don't think even him, he doesn't know how to grasp all the different things that are going to come with this. And the whole point of what I'm saying is we're going back to when you put a rule in place, people are going to find a way to get around it or do something under the table. That's what we were all complaining about last time. And then what we figured out was the NCAA really didn't even have any power to begin with. If you got hammered, you just went along with it and go, oh, okay, we're under the governing body of the NCAA. And everybody got upset because some schools felt like they got preferential treatment over others and others got hammered. Well, you're going to go back to this situation. Yeah, you can tell everybody it's a $20.5 million cap. But then who's going to police boosters? You're not going to police a booster. If a booster wants to call a kid and slip him money, he's going to do it. I mean, it's just the way it is. And then a coach can say, well, I don't know anything about that. That has nothing to do with me. Kirby Smart came out and was complaining about the kids getting paid, or maybe not complaining, but just telling people about kids getting $20,000 to stay committed, to a college while they're in high school. So this thing's trickled all the way down. And I think once the NCAA lost full control because they went to the court so many times and got beat, Faith, every time they went to try to put a rule in place, the courts ruled that they had no power. I think that's where the whole thing fell apart. Now you were just like, well, what do you want us to do?
Well, when you say that they have no power, with schools, they're being asked to, and this is from what CBS has, schools are being asked to forfeit their right to legally challenge the new enforcement entity on all decisions. And if they refuse to sign it, they could face expulsion from their conference. Well, if Texas or Ohio State decline to say it, that's when other schools are going to say, well, they didn't sign it, so I'm not going to sign it.
That's right.
Okay. Do you think SEC is going to expel Texas, or the Big Ten is going to expel Ohio State with how they're getting all the views, and they're paying everybody's bills. I
think at some point in time, if this sports committee, if they all agree, if the conferences agree that they're gonna operate under the guise of this sports commission, right?
Right.
And the conference signs the paper, maybe not the individual schools, but the conferences sign, maybe have the schools sign, and then they say they're going to be part of that conference. At some point in time, you got to quit suing everybody. At some point in time, you got to quit saying, I don't like that decision, I'm taking you to court. That's what they're trying to stop here. And I agree with that part. You've got to sign something at some point in time and say, you got to give us some authority to control what we're doing and overseeing this league, or else get the hell out of here and go play, in a league by yourself. I just think that you gotta, and you're not always going to agree with the rules that they come up with, but you can't go sue every time they come up with something. Go, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then the courts are always going to say, well, you're right, because they're an employee and you can't really make somebody do that. You just got to have some type of ending to that part of it before you can move forward.
How are you going to get, I agree with you, but how are you going to get everybody to sign something like that?
It's going to have to be through the conferences. It's going to have to be the Big Ten collectively and the SEC collectively say, that's where it's all going to start. You know that. And you said it. I mean, and it's going to start with the bigger the teams in the conference are going to have to say, yep, okay, we want to play in this league. We want to play under these rules. We got to give some governing body some type of power to regulate some things. So, yeah, at some point in time, we got to stop it because I think everybody's gotten to the point they're so frustrated with everything changing. I mean, get something in place where they maybe knock out one of those transfer portal windows. I don't know anybody that likes that spring transfer portal window. I haven't heard a coach come out and I mean, Auburn and Alabama and all these teams, they use it because they got to, because a lot of times they have players that leave at the end of spring, but I don't think anybody would say anything if they went back to one transfer portal window and you said, look, you got a chance after the football season in January to get in the portal. And if you want to leave and go somewhere, you can go.
Yeah,
but
outside of that, you're using the transfer portal windows.
Well, true.
At all times, that's the other problem.
Well, that's another thing. That's getting schools to say you can't take a kid outside of the first 2 weeks of class. You got to start incorporating, or whatever window it is. The academic thing didn't even get talked about anymore. And we talked about that Saturday. It's like, when was the last time you heard academic ineligibility? That's what you always used to hear. When you had a recruit coming in, you used to hear, oh, well, is he going to qualify? You know, maybe he didn't qualify. We're going to have to send him to a JUCO and maybe we'll get him back. Hell, when was the last time you heard anything on that?
I heard my first interview where he knew exactly what he wanted to go in and do with Vodney Cleveland. And he was actually, maybe he was just telling me this. I think he was being sincere, but he was actually saying that, hey, I'm going and looking at these schools and seeing the academic opportunities that they are going to be able to provide me. Because how many times have you heard anybody say that? But he actually already knew what he was going into the school to do. And he said, what can they offer me outside of football when it comes to the atmosphere of the campus, the people there, the teachers? What if I were to get hurt? You don't hear that ever anymore.
Here's the deal. And you and I have talked about this a bunch. And these kids, majority of them, even some of the 4- and 5-star guys, aren't going to play professional. They may go take a stab at it, but that's not how they're going to make their living. That's not going to be their career. What is their plan after college? When they go to school, and if they don't get a degree, or if they do get a degree, you know, most of them are going to be out here just like the rest of us, working normal jobs and trying to make a living. Well, you're setting them up.
After they already lose all their money that they did not learn how to financially spend responsibly, because you're 18 getting how much money?
Right. It took the words right out of my mouth. I didn't even need to finish my sentence. You finished it for me. I talked to coaches, and they said, most every one of them I've talked to said, we're setting these kids up to be failures in society because we're giving them a luxurious lifestyle that they can't maintain when they get out. There's only a very small, minute amount of people that make it to the pros. And you're putting them in a situation where they're not going to be successful. So, yeah, I mean, it's awesome to hear Vodney Cleveland say, if this thing doesn't work out for me when I get out of college, this is what I want to do. He's actually got a plan in place and a career choice. And again, I'm not throwing stones at anybody out there, but a lot of these kids have this embellished idea of this is how life's going to be from now on. I've also talked to some coaches and players at other institutions that said, man, it's sad to see X player out here now walking around with no job and begging for stuff and all this kind of stuff and he was on top of the mountain a few years ago. And now his career is over. He has nowhere to turn. He doesn't know what to do. And he's bouncing around asking people for money and all this kind of stuff. Hey, and here's another thing too, Faith. You know, universities are really good to help former players. Well, what if you've been to 4 universities? What if you've hopped around all over the place in the transfer portal and you go, hey, I play with they go, well, I don't claim you. I mean, you were here along with 3 other schools. I mean, what school does that player claim at that point? Now that they've hopped all around all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of consequences, like Jason said, with this new lifestyle and this new way of living and things that they ask for comes a lot more responsibility, and there are consequences to actions, and you just got to go. You got to take the good with the bad. That's how it all plays out.
It's just getting harder and harder to watch of how things are unfolding. And I think, yes, this is a good thing, a good start of what they're trying to do. But I think there are so many other
We're still a long way away from.
Right. There's so many things that are still just not settled on. And it's hard being able to talk about it because we also don't have any sort of certainty on how they're going to be able to control the other factors with this one big decision that they've made, if that makes sense.
But I think what you said makes a lot of sense. To get this going, and I'll read off some of John and Justin's comments, you got to have everybody buy in on the floor level before you even start going down this other path. Like, what if Ohio State and the Big Ten said, I ain't doing that? Like you just said. Like, they're part of the Big Ten, and the Big Ten says, well, and Ohio State goes, well, we'll just go over here. And we'll just.
Well, they've already talked about how many times have they already talked about separating themselves from the NCAA?
Well, the conferences have, the Big Ten and the SEC have, but I'm actually talking about a school going out on their own and being independent, like Notre Dame. How do you operate like that? So man, you see why somebody like a Nick Saban would go, man, I'm 70-something years old, and he goes home to his wife. His wife said, don't do that. Don't do that.
He's a good man listening to her.
Well, and he's given her a lot of props over the years for keeping him in line, and that happens with a lot of us, I can promise you. But, I mean, seriously, why did he get out of coaching what he loved to do, to go handle all this disaster?
The thing is one of the reasons he got out of coaching was because he said, this is not college football that I signed up for.
Right.
And this is not anything where I thought that kids aren't. He had Alabama athletes with his respect when he was there, and you could see how much they respected him and everyone that came in there. And then you saw how that kind of fell off after he left at Alabama. And a lot of that
didn't take long, did it?
Do I?
It didn't take long to see the difference in the team on the field the next year versus the team he had the previous year. I mean, no. Again, it is what it is. All right, John said revenue sharing, that was the best way. What took so long? What a waste of time and money and resources. Had to be a bunch of libs making that decision. Justice said the government has to give federal legislation to protect the NCAA and this commission from being sued over NIL. They need antitrust exemption. I mean, that's exactly what we've been saying. They got to have a protectionary measure put in there saying, look, you can't, every time a decision's rendered, you can't go run to the courts. You're playing under these rules, and this is what you signed up to do, and you got to live with it. If not, get out. He said Congress also has to set a law that would preempt differing state NIL laws that would allow NCAA commission to enforce the rules across all. Again, that's another whole area that we ain't even talked about. There's different NIL rules in different states, and which one takes precedence over the other. I mean, good luck is all I'm telling you. Good luck in trying to figure all this stuff out. I applaud this ruling, which, by the way, no offense, the woman that ruled on this didn't even know what she was ruling on. All right, let's start there for a second. She had to be told what all this stuff was, and then she's going to make a ruling and set a salary cap? What are we doing here? Well, what country are we living in now? So I'm not going down that road, and that's not a look. You have a judge that doesn't even know what the heck's going on and what they're ruling about in a multi-billion-dollar business. So Bottom line is good luck. I think we all understand that this thing's far from being controlled. I applaud the effort to set a salary cap. I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think the contracts are where the rubber is going to hit the road, where you got people signing deals, and then you got, like Justin said, got to figure out a way to make it even across the board throughout states that have multiple rules and regulations that differ.
Well, let me say one last thing.
Yep.
The NIL Go Clearinghouse will be charged with approving future NIL deals to ensure they are within a reasonable range of compensation based on multiple factors. So the NCAA being sued for illegally limiting and earning power of student athletes, then deeming the deals being unreasonable, that's what it says, is reasonable range of compensation based on multiple factors, end quote. So the word reasonable in court is going to be funny, right?
Yeah. What do you consider reasonable?
That's the problem here. Reasonable for obvious reasons, and void it, and then everyone's going to be back in court based on the idea that a student athlete's earning power is being illegally limited. Because what is reasonable?
How about us get back to what NIL actually stood for, where somebody can go out there, where Faith Richardson can go out and go to Lululemon and sign a contract for name, image, and likeness, kind of like what Livy Dunn did at LSU, or whoever, Biora or whatever clothing line she signed. That's what NIL is supposed to be, not the university saying, here's NIL deal to come play sports. NIL is what Bo Nix did when he went to Milo's and signed a contract to go represent Milo's, and drink sweet tea and say, hey, I'm Bo Nix. I play quarterback at Auburn. I'm drinking Milo's tea. You go drink Milo's.
Much as I hate it, but when they have people going into Cane's and serving Cane's.
Yep.
And you're driving, and Cane's is backed all the way up on their interstate. And just for people to get their food handed to them by, I think it was Stetson Bennett. Like,
right.
That is what NIL.
That's what it's supposed to be. That's NIL. And it got abused right out of it. Took 5 minutes for everybody to cheat on that. And so people even used the word wrong. They used the context wrong. Hashtag bring Cane's to Auburn. Yep, I think so. By the way, if you've never read the story about that guy, that's interesting. That started Cane's. Did I send that to you?
Oh, yeah, you did.
About the oil rig guy.
Yeah.
And then started, and everybody told him how stupid he was and all. And then now look who's stupid. All right. We're going to be on location here in a few hours. We will be down at Lake Martin Pizza in Dadeville. So come see us, people. Seriously. We'd love to see you.
Not the same one that we went to.
Not 63, not Alex City, but the Dadeville one on 49. Come check us out. We'll have some T-shirts. We're running low, by the way. So between Baumhauer's and JR's and everywhere we've been so far, and Lake Martin Pizza the first time on 63, we're running out of shirts. Hats are already out, so we got to get that done again. So we got to reorder some stuff. But come check us out. We'll be there by 11:30. We'll try to get on by then, and we're going to stay till about 1:30. And I know Faith's excited because we're going to get to eat some good pizza down there as well. Just a cool the whole renovation that they did to the one in Dadeville is awesome. So come check it out. If you can't make it to lunch today, make Lake Martin Pizza part of your dinner plans tonight when you get off work. They're open on Mondays. A lot of restaurants don't open on Mondays because they stay open throughout the weekend. So they try to give somebody a day off. And a lot of times restaurants pick Mondays. They don't do that at Lake Martin Pizza.
Not Lake Martin Pizza.
So go to Lake Martin Pizza. We'll be there at 11:30 today. But before we leave, we got to talk about a couple more of our partners here. And I'll have this group coming to my house this week.
Yay! Old Number One Customs. Don't DIY it in 2 years. Get it done with the professionals in 2 weeks.
Aren't you proud that I didn't DIY it for 2 years?
Brett, I do not want to hear the wrath that would be coming from you if you were getting so frustrated doing this and how long it would take. I don't
It'd never get finished. It would be a
wouldn't.
disaster.
So Old Number One Customs is going to be able to renovate either your bathroom, your kitchen, outdoor living space. They are the people that you want to call. Awesome people. And again, we're going to get a little montage from Brett after they
Can't
go
wait.
in there and gut his master bath.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait. 334-752-6162 to get Old Number One Customs to come to your house.
JFA Blue Plumbing, you want to have filtered water out of every single faucet in your house, whether it's the water from your kitchen sink that you're using to fill up your dog's water bowl or your shower, anything like that. JFA Blue Plumbing has a Home Atlas water filter duo that they will install, and you cannot put a price on health. $15.99 for filtered water, with your body being made up of 75% water. It's important that you take care of your body and you start with drinking purified filtered water. So call in JFA Blue Plumbing at 844 JFA Blue.
Can remember that with ease for sure. Yep. John said he may visit later this month. Lake Martin Pizza is the bomb. It is the bomb. It's going to be good. We're excited about it. We will be there again. Highway 49. Okay. Yeah. I heard you, John. It's great to be a Chanticleer. That's his neck of the woods over there. Hey, look, I'll be honest with you. I hope Coastal Carolina wins the whole thing now. I don't have a dog in the fight anymore. They're kind of a cool. I like them. I thought back in 2016 when they beat Arizona, that was cool. Kind of representing the little guys, and now they're not the little guys anymore. They're going in with the longest winning streak in the country, and I still think Arkansas is the best team in the country, and they proved that in their super regional, taking 2 straight from Tennessee. We'll see if that plays out. They've been on the border before of winning a national championship. All they had to do was catch a pop-up in foul territory. My God. Auburn's got a plethora of bad experiences, but literally, Arkansas was a pop-up in foul territory away from winning a national championship. Had 3 guys standing there, and the damn ball landed in between all 3 of them. And then they come back, and the guy hits it out of the park. Go right back out there, and the guy hits it out of the park. And they lose, and they come back the next day and just got killed because, it just killed their spirit. So for all you Arkansas fans, if any of you out there tuning that in, I'm sorry to bring up a bad memory, but we feel you. We've been right there with stuff like that. But I don't know if we've ever had that happen before. You just catch the foul ball, and you win a national title, and you let it drop between 3 of you. It's just not good. So, all right, so what is going to be good is us at Lake Martin Pizza. We will be there today, Faith. We're excited about it. Come check us out down there. It's a little rainy outside, but don't let that keep you away. Come see us down there, and don't let it prevent you from having the
best day ever
and a big old
War Eagle.